Hi, my name is Brandy. And when I think about my culture, I think about a puzzle, honestly. I think about how dynamic it is, the many different interlocking pieces in my own personal culture that all are dependent upon one another fitting together in order to make my life run smoothly, which they don't always. Um, my identity, the book says that our identity is the concept of who we are. I kind of view my identity as my cultural makeup, almost like my DNA. I think that my identity is always evolving and changing because, like I said, it's very dynamic. Um, I wear many different hats, but I wear my hats differently than other people wear theirs. I am a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, I'm an aunt, I am a mentor to a young teenage girl, I'm a Christian, I'm 30, I'm a white female, I'm a student. Um, so those just are some of the labels that were given to me and some that I was born with, but they all go together to make up my cultural DNA. I think that my primary identity, I kind of identify with two. Um, I'm a Christian, and that's definitely a part of my primary identity because being a Christian for me is a way of life. It's how I treat people. It's how I hold myself. Um, my other primary identity is being a mom. Once you're a mom for life. And I say that my identity evolves because when you're a mom to young kids, it's very different than being a mom to older kids. Right now, my girls are 10 and 8. And I always laugh because I say that my identity is either Allison's mom or Ava's mom. When I see their little friends at school, it's I don't have a name other than hey Allison's mom or hey Ava's mom. And as they get older, I know that that will go away, and they'll grow up and become even more independent, and I'll regain some of my personal identity back, like my name. Um, some of my co-cultures involve being a wife, being Irish, and being middle class, and I'll talk a little bit more about those. Being a wife to me is definitely a co-culture. When you are married, you have a different way of life than you did when you were single. I have someone who's always there for me. I'm never lonely. You have someone to talk to. You have someone to bounce ideas off with. I have a partner in crime when I'm parenting. It's just a different way of life than when I was single. I am middle class, like I said, and it might seem like a weird thing to identify with as a co-culture, but my husband and I have worked really hard to be where we're at. We were 19 when we had our daughter, our first daughter, and so we've worked really hard to achieve what we've achieved in life. And so to me, I guess my socioeconomic status is something that I'm very proud of. It's not something I often talk about, but it's something I'm very proud of. Um, Being Irish is definitely a culture, and it's also something that is one of the most impactful on my life. Both sides of my family have very strong roots. Um, my family is only about 5 generations old in this country, so um, I think a lot of the Irish culture hasn't been watered down yet because of that. My family is very, very close. Our relationship with our aunts and our grandparents, and everything is just very close. We get together often. We know what's going on in each other's life. We have very open communication. We celebrate a lot with food, and that's a huge part of my culture. When people get married, or when they're going through a hard time, or when I know someone who's lost someone that they love, I just always prepare a meal, and that's something I've always done and my family's always done, and I've been told by my grandparents that that's just a very Irish thing to do. And I just love celebrating with food. We sit down at the dinner table every night as a family, which is where the best communication happens. Sometimes it's only 30 minutes that the four of us get together, but we get to talk to our kids about their day, find out what's going on, see what their struggles are, and they know that they can come to us with anything. And like I said, the best communication we have is around the dinner table. And my kids love to prepare food, and so sometimes when we're preparing food, it can take an hour to make dinner, and my kids and I just have quality time in the kitchen. And yeah, that's all thanks to my Irish culture. Another strong impact on my life is the fact that I'm Christian, and that comes from the family relationships I have. I was raised in the church, and I'm not sure if I would be Christian if I wasn't raised that way. I've just never known any different. And I say it's one of the greatest impacts on my life because there was a period of my life when I did not go to church. And when I finally made the decision to go back, it's kind of like a line in the sand where I can see where I changed, where my identity changed, the way that I was living my life, the way that I was treating people around me. Everything just changed. One person said, you know, you need to carry yourself in a way where if someone were to speak badly about you, no one would believe it. And that's that's something that we're passing down to our kids, and just kind of embodies the way that we live our life. Language. My language is very dynamic because the way that I talk with people depends on the relationship. My husband and I are there's a lot of humor in our marriage. We oftentimes have a lot of nonverbal communication. We know what the other person's going to say before they say it. I can talk to my husband in a certain way that I would never talk to anybody else. And the same goes with my friends and with my kids. Just my language just depends on who I'm having a conversation with. I talk to my grandparents in a different way that I talk to my parents than I talk to my brother. So it's just very dynamic. But it's also very essential to my identity because if I wasn't able to communicate well with others, I wouldn't be able to build relationships. And when you have relationships with people, whether it's good or bad, you learn your opinion about the world around you, you gain perspective, and all of that goes into coming to terms with what your own identity is. And I don't think that I would have such a strong hold on what my identity is if I wasn't able to have good communication with other people to learn what I like and what I don't like. And part of my language is that I'm very honest, and it is sometimes a good thing and it's sometimes a bad thing. I think I'm well-spoken, and it's nice because my kids, my husband, my friends, you know, people feel like they can come to me for advice. So I know that I'm doing something right with my language because people feel like they can sit down and have a conversation with me. And I think that also goes hand in hand with nonverbal communication because I think I am a good listener, and if you don't have good nonverbal cues, people would not think that you are a good listener. If you're not engaged or having eye contact, if you are just distracted when people are talking to you, they probably won't come to you for advice, or they won't come to you to have a conversation. So nonverbal cues are really important because either you're perceptive or you're not. And a lot of times in the culture around us, people, you know, first impression is everything, and a lot of times that goes off of your nonverbal cues. And if you hold yourself, you know, with a scowl face and act completely disinterested, then nobody will probably want to have a conversation with you. And like I said, if you don't have good nonverbal or verbal communication, then you won't be able to build relationships with people. You won't be able to figure out what your identity is, and you won't be able to identify that with your culture or your cultures. So it just all interlocks like a puzzle.